Hey guys, so it is Friday night and it's 9 p.m. Instagram live time. And tonight's Instagram is going to be very, very useful if you are having questions about travel. And I've got a awesome guest joining me tonight, Harry Thomas. And the backstory is that last week I saw a video that Harry did, which was going viral about a trip that Harry made from Brazil back to the UK, and he's going to tell his story tonight. I think you're going to be interested to learn. So let's just get Harry on. Hey, buddy.
Hi, buddy. You right?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me, mate.
Yeah, no problem at all. And whereabouts are you now?
Down south, a place called New Milton. My parents have just moved down here, so it's near Bournemouth.
Oh, okay, awesome. So is it actually on the coast, or?
Yeah. Literally, you walk to the beach and you see the Isle of Wight opposite. So it's right at the bottom of the UK.
Fantastic. So, thank you for joining me. Really excited about the conversation that we're going to have tonight. I was just kind of explaining to people that the sort of the backstory to getting you on was that I saw a video last week that you made about your trip back from Brazil, and in sort of what we're approaching now, probably almost 2 years of this stuff. I haven't travelled overseas once, and just travelling is something that's in my blood. It's something that I love to do. And also, not only that, is that my parents live in the States and my brother lives in Dubai. So I haven't seen my family in all that time as well. And I'm starting to get really, really fed up, and I'm starting to think, do you know what? I need to just do this. I need to get out of fear and get it done. So when I saw your video of you coming back, and then sort of the way that you explained yourself and you shared it, I was like, oh, I've really got to try and get this guy on. So it's just a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I see that we've got obviously we don't know each other, but we've got a few mutual friends, and they've all had great stuff to say about you, mate. Do you want to just start by telling us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and then I guess what we'll do after that, why you was in Brazil, and then we'll move the conversation on to your actual story, where you travelled back from Brazil to here. And then, like, I'm quite a solution-based guy, so if we could finish like the last part of the live on advice that you would give to anyone that is thinking about travelling and just empower people, really, that would be great.
Yeah. Okay. So my name's Harry Thomas, originally from London. Originated from the fitness industry. So I've been a personal trainer for 16 years. I opened up a personal training studio 12 years ago, and then we went on to open a second one. So that was 2009 and 2012. And my job effectively was just helping people become fitter. That's what I thought originally I was doing as a personal trainer, but that kind of evolved into a lot more than just fitness, a lot more than just nutrition. And we were looking at literally their whole life. So I thought I was coaching then. We then moved into the education space. So we started training people to become personal trainers. And I think we were the best in the country at what we did in terms of the reputation, the people that went on to the industry and the difference they started making as well. So I got a real buzz for helping people and using my experience to help them. In between all that, I thought business was easy. I was living a bit of an entrepreneur lifestyle. I set up 2 other side businesses, and my life just turned around then. I got done for fraud massively on one of the businesses, lost a lot of money. I went through I'm a laid back guy. I've always been chilled out, but I went through a really stressful time. I just started ignoring things. I found drugs. I started partying. So one life I was living this healthy lifestyle. I was training people, and at the weekends I was just disappearing and like literally raving, not sleeping. And then the anxiety and stuff started picking up, and I just blamed work. Then I had a second business where I had someone working for me, and we were doing events around the country. And when the first one just went pear-shaped, I just said, look, you carry on doing it. I'm going to just sort myself out and focus on my main business. And he was stealing money from me. And it just got all on top of me. I just wasn't paying attention to anything. Kept myself in my room quite a lot. I got into my conspiracy theories at that period as well, so maybe it was a good thing. And then I had a breakdown. It was a school reunion / wedding in Cyprus, and I was just getting daggered. It was like I was getting attacked, but it was nothing. And I started crying in front of all my mates, and that was kind of like the turning point of my life. I got into meditation when I come back, started going down that route, still living that second lifestyle still. And I got myself into a bit of trouble. I got arrested 3 times over the course of 18 months, all drink related. Don't remember what I did. I'm not an aggressive person, don't get into fights, but I was cheeky and I said wrong things at the wrong time. And then the last one was in Tenerife on a stag do. And I literally woke up in the cell. I don't remember how I got in there at all. I was just in my swimming shorts. The bars were there. There was a urine coming in from the guy opposite me. And I just got a little reminder to say, what are you doing with your life? I got no control of it. And I just went on this self-discovery journey, really. I just went into this learning mode, and literally everything I do now is, I'm a student for life. So I literally learn, I take the information. I then got myself a life coach, and that really changed my life. So I then decided to become a life coach, and yeah, that's kind of where it's transitioned into now. So I call myself a soul coach now. I'll talk straight to your soul. I remove all the bullshit. If you want to change, we'll make it happen. And I'll call you out on all the words that you use, all your limiting beliefs, and I'll make you realize how powerful you are. And I don't actually tell you anything. You're not doing this, you're not doing that. I just make you aware of what comes out of your mouth and the actions that you take next.
Wow. Yeah, because I don't know if you know this about my story, but I'm about 8.5 years now clean and sober. So I had a horrendous battle with mental health from a really young age, from the age of 10, and I didn't get help for my mental health until I was 30, so 20 years. And then I would use alcohol and drugs to medicate. And like you mentioned, blackouts and stuff like that, and getting in trouble. And yeah, I was just with you the whole way there. I know how painful that sort of space can be. And
you know when you said it was that period, did you know you were stressed initially?
Yeah, I knew that. Obviously, I knew that there was something wrong. I knew that I was struggling with my mental health, and but I was just so scared to tell anybody about it. And being a bloke as well, you know, I grew up in a rugby club, and like my rugby mates are like brilliant. They're still my mates today, and rugby clubs are pretty open, and you can talk about most things. But still, every time they ask me, "How you doing?" I would say, "I'm fine, mate." And you know what, that like feelings inside not expressed, and they knew that something was up because the way that I was using alcohol. But yeah, it was like probably what you could probably relate to is one of those double-edged swords. You know, you get to a point where you're using the alcohol to manage your mental health, yet it's making your mental health worse. Mm-hmm. And then I was also with you with the businesses as well, and fitness as well. My first job it was in the fitness industry, so I worked for about 5 years in the fitness industry, for Fitness First of all companies.
That's where I started.
Yeah, and I started out with I did all my PT qualifications with Premier Training and got into the industry. And then I'm sure you'll be aware that the fitness industry is just a big party industry, isn't it? It's just so it probably wasn't the best job for me, but I left the industry and then set up my own businesses as well, so I can relate to the stress as well of having your own business, in particular dealing with staff. Mm-hmm. Like you said, staff stealing from you and stuff like that. And yeah, it's mad. It's mad how so many people have gone on these journeys, have hit rock bottom. And when I'm talking about people who are like talking up against what's going on now. It all seems that they've got a backstory. They've been to hell and they don't want to go back there.
Yeah, there's no chance of going back. And I also think when we're speaking up now, it's not for us, it's for everyone. So it's like if we can show that we can get out of one place, like come on, we've all got a story to tell. So if one person tells a story and it just resonates with one other person, and you're seeing it now, more and more people are stepping up into their power and speaking up. I know some people that wouldn't have said Pete before, and they're just constantly on it now. So I love what's happening at the moment. And people say there's a lot of shit going on, which there is, but there's so much good going on too, which I don't think people actually realize how much good is actually happening.
Yeah, well, we're competing with mainstream media, right? So, you know, you've got mainstream media who are just pumping this fear out non-stop all day, every day. So for us to try and get our message out of positive things happening, especially with the censorship as well now, is that anything positive, just look at what they did with ivermectin. You know, you've got a drug there which is been proven to work, and it just gets suppressed. You know, and the censorship that is going on just means that, yeah, sometimes I feel like we're fighting a losing battle. But you're absolutely right. There's a lot of good stuff going on, and we need to share that good stuff.
Definitely. And what's been good about this one is that I'm now connecting with people. You realize there's a lot more of us as well. So it's like we're not on our own, because the closest to us, they think you're nuts. You lose your mates, you lose your work colleagues and stuff because you're speaking out and they're not on that journey yet. And that's, I think, the hardest thing. It's that part, because you question yourself, you have doubt, is this real happening? But you know it's real. And now you're starting to see there's a lot more connection around the world with all sorts of creeds, all cultures, all sexes. Yeah, I'm loving what's going on at the moment.
So someone just asked, is this being recorded? And I've just got to say that if, before we get into the main part, you guys, you might want to screen record this, because I'll tell you what's been happening, Harry, is that when I've had guests on to talk about, or just even dive into the counter narrative, sometimes they don't even let me post the live when it's finished. I can't download it, I just lose it. So if that happens tonight, then I'm not screen recording this at the moment, because just like usual, I was running late and not organised, and I forgot to press the record button. But yeah, people, if you want this information, then record it. But yeah, so when did you realise it was something up and something was going on, something wasn't right?
Day one.
Day one.
Yeah, I've been searching truth now for. I did a post the other day. I did a post 10 years ago. It said conspiracy. Crossed it out, said realist, and my hashtag was wake up. So
10 years ago.
That was 10 years ago. Yeah.
So what sort of stuff was you looking into 10 years ago? Was it the war on terror? Was it?
I could take you about the whole timeline to where, and pull you back again, so you can connect everything. So what people say is that, oh, you believe in everything. Everything's a conspiracy theorist. And I believe in truth. And the thing is, most conspiracies, the answers have never come out. What they've told us doesn't make sense. And I ask simple questions that should have a simple answer. Like the vaccine, can you show me one bit of evidence that it works? Just one. They can't. So I can't believe what someone tells me. And if we go back, so I'd go back. I've got a kind of a timeline that I'd recommend people. The first one would be the World War I.
Okay.
And you'd start seeing how the same group of people funded both sides of the war.
So when you say, yeah, I've looked into this. So when you say the same group of people, what we're talking about is the central bankers and the cartels, the banking cartels that run those central banks, right?
And you'd have the industrial industries. You'd have like Henry Ford, so all the automobiles and stuff as well. So when you've got a war, both sides need vehicles. So he's just like, it was supplying different vehicles. You'd have the uniforms, you'd have the weapons. So what happened before, it used to be a war on a country. And when a war ended, like, what do we do next?
Rebuild.
Now it's a war on terror. Terror never ends. So war can just keep going on and on and on. Climate change used to be called global cooling in the 70s. Then it went to global warming. And now it's just called climate change. So climate changes all the time.
Yeah.
It's all bullshit. It's all money making. And all I say to people is that I can put you in the right resources. And when we do these things, it's not about me being right. I've got my truth. And if you don't agree with me, come and explain the reasons why you don't. Maybe give your opinion, let's have a discussion, but don't go, you're a conspiracy theorist, because that doesn't help anything. But what I'm saying is that things that I'm looking into show that there's a lot of good happening too. So yeah, I could go down a whole dinosaurs are not real. That shocks a lot of people. The world, we're told we're on a spinning globe. We're definitely not spinning 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So yeah, but again, that's once you're open to the people that are lying to us at the moment, which everyone can see, the news haven't got our back. 90% of the news is negative on its own. Like that on its own just suggests that they're not helping us. The vaccine companies, they're pushing it on there when the virus is 99.97% survival rate. So you've got a 0.03 chance of dying. There's no point leaving your house because you might get knocked over by the wind. You've got more chance of dying from the wind. So
that's the problem, isn't it? That at the moment the whole world is running on emotion and not logic.
Mm-hmm.
And if you strip the emotion out of every conversation you have around this clown, I call it a clown show now. If you strip all of the emotion out, you're left with the logic. And as you say, the logic, when you've got obviously the survival rate, the fact that PCR doesn't even it shouldn't even be used for diagnostic purposes, quote unquote, the inventor of the test. You got the it's not even a vaccine, so that's just the injection, which is, as you're right, doesn't stop transmission, doesn't stop passing it on. Like, you know, you strip away the emotion and you're left with logic, but people can't do that. Yeah,
it's childlike logic as well. If you presented all the information that all these people are dying, we all know someone that's had some sort of impact. Here's all the scientists, here's all the doctors, and I don't know one person goes, I feel amazing from this vaccine, I feel incredible. I don't know one. So if you presented that to a kid, what would you pick? There's only one answer.
And I think the other thing that's hard for people to understand is, or to get their head around, and it took me a little while to get my head around as well, is that, like, say the president of the United States, he's not in control and he's not the top dog. Mm-hmm. You know, that there's powers above him, and all politicians, whether they're red or blue, are just puppets. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've learned. That's what I've learned from all of this as well.
We'll go on to common law in a minute, but just the word politics. Like, if we go back, there's a language that politicians, police, and government officials will use to trick us. So it's called legalese. And the word politics, if we break it down into two, poly means people, ticks, blood-sucking leeches.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. I'm starting to hear more and more about language, and been looking at legalese as well. And it's just, it's like spells, right? It's just like, that's fine on it. But anyway, let's bring it back, because as I say, I really want to bring it back to travel and talk about your experience with travel. So you left the UK and you went to Brazil, right? What was you doing in Brazil? Just tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's my favorite place that I've been to. I've been a number of times, and I was out there for Christmas. My gym's in London. We really struggled through the corona. I had to put the gym into liquidation and then buy back another gym just to save the company. And I had no passion for it anymore. So I'm out there doing all my coaching through the screen with all people, eating mangoes, to come back to a company that I didn't want to come back for. I just made a decision then, I don't want to do this anymore. And I just said, I'm going to put my notice in. I'll work 3 months and then I'm going to just try experience life in Brazil. So I was out there for 5 months and it was amazing. But my mum obviously is over here and she worries about her son. So I was like, right, I'll come back and see my parents and spend some time with them. And yes.
But so, sorry, mate, just the traveller in me has got some questions about Brazil, if that's cool.
Yeah.
Yes. What part did you go?
So,
what part of Brazil was you at?
So I was at a place called Barreiras, which is in Bahia, which is literal central Brazil, really rural. Where I was staying was self-sufficient. So there was 8 types of mango trees in this house. I didn't realize there was 8 types of mangoes before. It was proper wildlife. And then I moved out to Salvador, which is on the coast. It's more kind of African descent. If you go to Brazil, it's every culture's there. Like it's amazing. And I spent 2 months out in Salvador.
Wow. So you said self-sufficient. So, yeah, what do you mean by that?
So literally all the food that we ate was from the house that I was staying in. So everything. And if it wasn't from there, there'd be the farmers that had the chickens, you'd have the pigs, you had like literally it was all plucked from the tree, from the ground. So you're naturally healthy anyway just by living off of the land. And it opened up my eyes to a lot. Like my health has always been good, but I just felt a lot more energized. I had a river on the back of the garden, so I was out in the river every single day. It was good.
And was there other travellers there, or was it all locals? Or?
Yeah, all locals. Like the whole time I was in Brazil in 5 months, there was no other English people that I met. I met one American when I was studying Portuguese in Salvador, but apart from that, it was I was the foreigner, and you're welcomed out there. Everyone smiles, everyone gives you attention, and there's kind of a soulful energy to it as well. So I'd encourage people doing things that are completely different. There's no expectation. I'd never known people had been at that part of Brazil before, so it's all my own experience then.
Wow. And how is your Portuguese?
Eu falo um pouco português. Okay, I could, when I go back, I'm going to learn more. But learning Portuguese, I realised the deception in the English language, which I'll share some stuff with you later on as well.
Yeah. Wow. And yeah, last question, like how were they, because Brazil, I've heard, are pretty strict on the COVID stuff. Like, what was your experience of Brazil with regards to COVID?
So it's a massive split in the country. You've got the president called Bolsonaro, who's anti-media, he's anti-vax, and there's one video that I've got of him, you'll never see it out there on the news, but he's literally shouting at the journalists saying, you keep ivermectin, you keep hydroxychloroquine from the people, you guys should be ashamed, and blah, blah, blah. But he was like Trump, they all hated him, and for me there was something suspicious. And when he was talking out against the media, I was pro him, but he was hated by people. And on CNN, it's just on repeat all day long. And yeah, same sort of thing you see over here. Deaths, vaccines are working. And what was scary out there, they call the AstraZeneca, they call it the Oxford vaccine because it's from England. So they're like, we're getting the Oxford vaccine. And they say, our president doesn't care about us. He's not wanting to get the vaccines in. He don't care about the people. So they're demanding the vaccine. Yeah, it's backwards.
Okay, but in terms of enforcement,
everywhere you went inside, you had to wear a mask. Even in the gym, you had to train in the mask. And you can't really say no out there. Like the guns and the big battens on their pleats, they're very big. But there was no questions out there. Like no one would kind of, when can I take this mask off? When we're going to stop? They're robotic. And I do find the education system, I keep saying in Brazil, there's so many opportunities because the people work so hard, but there's no kind of thought. They all got their own, like people live in the community and they're not welcome out there and they just hold this belief. So I think there's a lot of opportunities there to change the mindset, but that again starts from the education. But it wasn't enforced on you, but yet they just followed orders.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm just trying to find a place to go myself. But I can't wear a mask and I refuse to wear a mask, and I don't want to be doing any of the bullshit. So I kind of need to find a semi-off-grid living space, but I still obviously every now and again I want to be able to get online. I want to be able to like communicate. Like I want to be able to, I don't know, find a gym or whatever. But
where are you thinking then?
Oh, I've looked at a few. Well, I say I've looked at a few places. I've heard about a few places. I've heard about the sort of the place being built out in Zanzibar. I've seen that on Instagram. I've got a friend who's out in Costa Rica at the moment, and he seems to be living free in Costa Rica. Quite a few people have said about Mexico, in and around. I think it's Playa de Carmen or somewhere like that. And I've heard about a place in Portugal, but you know, I'm really early on in my research, but I definitely want to, try and find somewhere to visit. Yeah.
I can connect you with my coach who lives in Costa Rica. He's been out there since Jan. He just said you wouldn't know COVID was there. There was no mention of it. And I'd encourage going away at some point, mate. It changes your life, like,
Yeah.
massively.
Well, that's it. I've always, before this nonsense, I was always traveling. I spent a lot of time in Nepal, a lot of time. Yeah, I've traveled. I love it. Yeah. So, got to do it. All right, cool. Well, you're the second person as well to tell me about Costa Rica. So I'm definitely going to check. I'm definitely going to check that out. So let's talk about your trip back from Brazil to the UK. Why don't you just tell us the whole story? I'll be quiet, and then I'll ask you questions at the end when you've done.
Okay, I'll try to be as precise as I can. So
we've got plenty of time, mate. So we've got plenty of time. So yeah.
Okay, so coming back from Brazil, it was red list country, 10 days quarantine. It says on the government website, unless you spent 10 days in another country first of all. I didn't really want to be coming back for too long, so I kind of made the statement that I wasn't going to be doing quarantine. As I said earlier, from day one, I've said COVID's bullshit. So if anyone I always say, if anyone puts a rule on you or tries to enforce something on you, they have to justify it. So if they have to justify it, if I ask a question, they can't answer that question, that can't be justified. So that was kind of the logic that I used coming back. And then also I was quite upskilled on my common law. So as a human, there's 3 laws that we have to follow, just as this human entity. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, and thou shalt not disturb the peace. So I knew that I wouldn't break any laws if I was just coming back and they tried putting this COVID regulation on me. I haven't agreed to it, I haven't signed for it. So that was my foundation. So I worked off of that. So coming back from Brazil, I kind of mapped it all out in my head, kind of what I was doing. I printed out, like you mentioned, that the PCR tests don't work. So I had the FDA website link that actually says they're discontinuing the test on the 31st of December because they failed the emergency testing. So I've had that printed out and I had that with me the whole time, because if anyone said, oh, you haven't done your PCR test, or said, well, why would I need one if they don't work? And that was kind of, I then got a photocopy of a PCR test anyway, just to get onto the flight. My main intention was to get back to the UK. And once I was in the UK, I knew I'd be fine. So Brazil checkout, person on the desk, they said, oh, you need your COVID hotel booked. I said, I won't be doing that. You need to, no, I won't be doing that. And I said, again, showing the FDA test. I had like a few things written out in terms of my laws. I said, it's not, I haven't broken any laws. I've got my rights here. And they don't read English, so they go back and forward with each other. And you're always met with a no to start with, but just know that no can change into a yes. So some people get agitated with that first no, and they cause a reaction. And remember, these people are just doing their job. So I think the main thing when it comes to airport is just stay calm and neutral. And so they said no a few times. I just waited around. I was being really nice. And I just said, can I go through? Because I'm not going to be doing it. And he left a note on the system to say the customers refused to do it, but it kind of took the pressure off of his hands. So I got through Brazil, got quite confident in my Telegram group, was that I've got through the first thing. Just be nice, guys. And then I went to France. I pretty much meditated the whole way back. And I was literally thinking of whatever question or whatever thing that I was met with. So I always had an answer to it. Got back to France, got through to the final gate, and literally before we were boarding, the security was like, right, we need your passenger locator form. I said I hadn't done that, and they caused a bit of a fuss. You won't be coming on the flight. And I just said I won't be doing it. And I waited around for ages. And in the end, the Air France person on the desk said, look, you're going to have to fill one on. We can't let you in. It was 15 minutes before I waited. So I quickly went on, and I just made sure that I didn't tick yes to the COVID package. So I did press yes to self-isolation, but here's another thing for you. When you're at home, no one can keep you prisoner in your own house. It's against the law. So if anyone come round to check to see if you're there, for all they know, you could be asleep. You could be in the loft. They don't need to know, and you can't open the door. You don't need to open the door to them. And if you open the door, you don't even have to identify yourself either. They ask who you are. I'm not obliged to answer that. If they then got the police round and they knocked on the door, they haven't been invited. Just make sure you don't answer your name to them. What's your name? What's your date of birth? That's what the police will always say to you. Am I obliged to answer that? And they will say, no. Okay, I don't need to speak to you. So that's kind of my foundation too. So if you say your name, you've entered a verbal contract, and this is where you go into the legal system. So by saying, am I obliged to answer that, then they can't do anything to it. It's against their oath that they've signed. Got back to the UK, and if I was doing it again, I would have booked 2 flights. Because I booked it straight from Brazil as a transit, my bag automatically went to a separate terminal. Whereas if I'd have done France first, that was an amber country, I could have just gone through and then got onto another flight, and I don't think I would have had the problem.
Mm.
So that's another thing to think about, but I don't think there's many red list countries now anyway. So then I got to the immigration, and I was prepared for this part. So the Terminal 4 is completely empty, and all the people that turn up there is just for COVID packages. It's nuts if you think about it. So there's about 8 immigration officers, 2 desks. I turned up, he goes, oh, can you show me your COVID package? I said, I won't be going to the hotel. Looked up, yes, you will. I said, no, I won't. You've been to a red zone country, you will. Then the supervisor come behind, he went, you are going to the, everyone goes to it. And I said, no, I won't be going. £5,000 for you then. If you think you're clever, here's a £5,000 fine. I said, what law am I breaking? And again, it's the best question you can ask someone. You're breaking the COVID regulations. I said, but what law is that? And again, calm. They start fighting with themselves, get aggressive. It's the Emergency Act and the government have put it in place. I said, that's not a law. So I then got my phone out at this point, and this is the key bit. You're allowed to get your phone out, even if they say you're not. It's a public place still. So I'm now covering myself, and you can see he got really rattled at this point. And he said, you're not coming in, we'll get the police. And I said, go and get the police then. So he stormed off. The guy's filling out my £5,000 form. And again, don't sign for anything. You haven't agreed to it. They're just wasting the time there. And I managed to settle myself then. I had a bit of time to go over what I was going to say. But luckily, my friend was also on a common law course. He was studying the
Is that Carl?
Carl, yeah.
Yeah, I know Carl.
Yes. I said, mate, look, I've got the police coming now. Can you just give me a script or something, just in case? And he put one of his teachers on who just called me, and she confirmed exactly what I wanted to say, but she added 2 more bits. So she said, the police are going to come in and they're going to just try talking you, like dismissing what you say. Just stop them in their tracks and say, can you show me your warrant and give me your full name, please? And she actually said, they'll say no. They said no straight away. And then ask them again, can you show me your warrant, please? No. I said, okay, this is the second time I've asked you. Can you please give me a warrant? And they said no again. And she said that will end up happening. By the 3rd time, if they refuse to give it, you now need to remind them of the Police Criminal Act of 1996. And if an officer or constable, sorry, not officer, if a constable refuses to identify themselves, they're in breach of that the Police Act. That's a 6-month prison sentence. So I informed them that's a 6-month prison sentence. You could see they're looking at each other. And then I asked, are you acting under oath? If you ask any police officer that, they have to say yes. And when I asked it, I've got this other video on YouTube. You can see the police officer goes, really? I was like, yeah. He's like, I've been acting under oath for 18 years, mate. I said, okay. And then I go straight on to the next bit. Well, let me remind you of the Criminal Justice Act of 2015, Section 26, subsection 3. And I just read out a police constable who is in breach of his oath, who is willingly, I can't remember the words, I can put it in the script, but that was at the time, it was flowed out of me. And I said, that's a 14-year prison sentence. And this is just to make people aware, like, these things are put in place to protect us. Every one of us is equal. So because they got a job title, if you've got a status or you're a CEO, that doesn't give someone the authority to talk to you like shit. We're all the same. And I think that's the thing for people to realize. We're just as powerful each other if we know our rights. So I said that to them, and that kind of rattled them a bit. And you can see on the video, he dismissed it. We're not here to talk about your beliefs, mate. you're going to the hotel, if whether you like it or not. I said, I won't be going. What law have I broken? Same old conversation. But at that point, that's all I needed to say. I don't need to say anymore. So I kind of weighed up in my head. The maximum I knew that I'd do was 24 hours in a cell. But weighing that to paying £2,200, 10 days in I call a prison concentration camp, you get 1 hour of walking around the car park a day, and you get to eat when they tell you to eat. So for me, my mate was in prison for 3 years, and he said, I got more time outside in the playground than they would. So I was willing to take 24 hours. So it just went back and forward. They kept going, all these different things. And at the end, he goes, you can see the police officers. Do you want to arrest him? I arrest him. Do you want? And they wasn't used to that. So in the end, the guy said, and I got it on video as well, we're just about to arrest you. I want you to really think about this now, because you're going to go to the hotel whether you like it or not. Everyone goes to the hotel. And I was like, no, you can arrest me then. And so they're putting the cuffs on me, which is just stupid. And again, being polite, I was like, sir, can you please make sure that you get my suitcase as well? And he's guiding me through the airport, and he said, we didn't have to do this. So they drove me to the Heathrow airport. The sergeant then come out, a lady, and it was weird. I was just sitting at the back of the van. He said, look, I'm going to take your cuffs off. I don't think you're going to do anything. I said, no. They asked what I do. I tell them like the line of work I do. I work with people who've been told they're going to die, terminal illnesses. We're talking about coaching. So they could see like I'm not a bad person at all. The lady's giving me the same old spiel. Look, you're going to go to the hotel. I said, no, I'll take 24 hours in there. And she goes, and I said, well, what happens if I don't? Well, if you don't, you do 24 hours in here and 9 days in the hotel. And I said, no, I won't be. And she goes, well, you'll go to prison then. And I laughed. You can't go to prison unless a judge sends you. So they're rattled at this point. And then she goes, why? And I said, COVID's not real. Don't believe it's real. And then she goes, well, make sure you don't say that. One of my colleagues died the other week from COVID. So if you say that, so trying to put a guilt trip on me. I could have gave her a lot more stats, but I didn't. So then it got me into the cell. So if you get arrested, they give you a sheet of paper. And on your piece of paper, the first thing it says, you'll be in here for up to 24 hours. It could be up to 36 hours, but that would be on a judge's decision. So I had this just sitting there. So I'm in the cell, I'm just meditating, calming myself down. And for everyone, it's not too bad. Like, again, I was weighing it up. The cell has a padded little bedside. It's got a toilet, it's got a sink, and you've got loads of tiles that you can count in there. And the police officer then come an hour or so later on, and he put his head through the door and he said, Harry, you're going to be going to the hotel. And I said, I won't be going to the hotel. And I said, we'll wait for the judge to decide. He's like, we'll drag you out of here. And I looked at him and I said, you've gone against your oath. That's a 14-year prison sentence. And I gave it a bit more authority then. And without him thinking about it, he went, I didn't arrest you, it was the other one. And I knew I got him. So at that point, I got a bit more frustrated. I said, look, I want my phone call now. I don't know why I'm in here. I'm not a criminal. You put me in here. I should be at least in a room and being able to be treated like a normal person. They tried organising a solicitor for me, which I refused. I just wanted to speak to the lady that I spoke to on the phone. And when I got her, she was like, you're winning, Harry. You're doing fine. She said, give me the detention officer. Give me the phone to him. And you could see she was just literally tearing him one. And he was shaking. He was like a new guy. Then they led me back into the cell, and within 15 minutes, the sergeant then come out and she goes, look, Harry, we're going to release you with no charge. But it's our duty still to drop you to the hotel. And I knew what they were trying. They knew they fucked up. They've unlawfully arrested me. And I forgot to mention as well, guys, when it's common law, it's the highest of all laws. It beats the legal system. But when it's common law and they've broken their oath, so first of all, it's a 14-year prison sentence that I could get back for. But the time that they've stopped me from doing my life, I can charge them back. So I was going to invoice them £1,000 an hour for every hour that I was in there. And so if they arrested me again, I was like, that's an expensive day at the office for them, and that's a nice little paycheck for me. So I kind of had that kind of go with as well. So then they dropped me to the hotel. And he literally opened the door and he looked at me in the eyes and he said, Harry, if you try escaping here, that's a 10 grand fine on top of your 5 grand fine, and we'll arrest you again. I didn't give him any acknowledgement. He dropped me out. They went off, and I walked into the hotel, and again, I'm not signing anything. And this is where it got quite interesting. I walked in, so I'm not signing anything. There's about 9 security guys around me, and the manager comes out, this little dweeby guy, you're fucking signing it. And I was like, excuse me? Like, awful. And just to give you a comparison, that's like me walking into the Hilton. And I look around and like, actually, I don't want to stay here. And the manager's like, you're fucking staying here. That's the equivalent. So I'm like, who are you? And I get a bit frustrated. I get my phone out again. I was like, this guy's giving me grief now to the lady. She's like, put me on loudspeaker. She went, Harry, grab your bags, go and get your passport and walk out. If any of those touches you, because they're walking like that, sir, you can't leave. You can't leave. If I'd have signed to agree to the hotel, you've agreed to it. They're allowed to stop you leaving because in that contract, it says we're allowed to keep you here. So they're trying to stop me. And then the manager was like, I'm going to call the police on you. And I say, call the police. They've dropped me here anyway. They can't do anything. And so I then tried to get a taxi, and it was like Terminator, the film. This manager was chasing me down the bloody road. He's about 150 yards behind. I'm like, I just want to go home. Right? I haven't done anything wrong. Finally getting a taxi, get back to my parents a bit later on, south of England. But I had no phone calls. I had no visits. I've had nothing since. So I've just been free the whole time.
Wow, what a story. I wonder if I've got a couple of questions. So I wonder if the manager of the hotel was that aggressive because he wanted to get a physical reaction out of you. So because if you'd have touched him, then it would have been game over, wouldn't it? They'd have had something to sting you with. But my first question is, when they actually arrested you in the airport, what did they charge you with? What did they say they were arresting you for then?
Disagreeing with the COVID regulations.
So they arrested you for disagreeing with the COVID regulations.
That was the whole funny thing. They had no grounds to arrest me, and they couldn't even answer that confidently. Why have you arrested me? Yeah. They could, and that's why they had to. When the lady was on the phone, that's why they had to let me go. I think they were potentially waiting for reaction because that could have been disturbing the peace. That could have been violence. They could have charged you with something, and that's the key bit, guys. Is if you know your rights, you don't need to react. It's only them that get angry.
Yeah. And next question, you was filming it. When did they take your phone off you and stop you from filming it?
The moment they said they're arresting me, and I put my phone in pocket. They're like, you're putting your phone in your pocket. Like, again, they're trying to scare you and stuff. So I just gave it to them at that point. But whilst I was recording, I was stopping the videos and I was sending it to my friend. I said, by the way, these videos have gone to my lawyer. So on my other YouTube video, you can see there's 3 different videos I've got of the police interaction as well.
Cool. So you was filming a bit, you was stopping the recording, you were sending it. Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea as well. So,
and the police can't take your phone off you. They put a legislation in a few years ago to protect you from that. So that's theft, that's assault. So again, if they did that, guys, and you had that on camera, you can get them done in a lot of trouble because it's against their oath. So
do you feel that you was assaulted in any of the...
No, not at all. They did their job. They were kind to me, they were nice to me, but they were trying to be deceptive. They don't want to be doing this stuff. This is the thing that I realised. They're doing this for the corruption as well. The same people that threw them under the bus when Black Lives Matter was on, and where that Sarah Adwood, they're the ones that get all the shit. And people like us are like, fucking please, it's not their fault, but they have to do it.
Yeah. When you got to, so when they dropped you back at the hotel, did they hand over your passport to this manager? How did this manager get your passport?
Yeah, so they said, where's your passport? And it was in my bag, so he just gave it to the manager.
He gave it to the manager, okay. And then did was the manager refusing to give you your passport?
Yeah, refusing to give it. And I think it must have been the deputy manager was a woman. And she's like, I'll go and get it. So that was the one thing, because I walked off to start with, like, oh, fuck, my passport. So I was like, I need my passport. That's theft. And you could see he's storming around on his phone with it in his hand, but they had to give it over in the end.
Do you know what's mad? I've got my passport with me, and I read the opening message in the inside cover, and yeah, like I've got it up here on my computer. Her Britannic Majesty's Secretary of State requests and requires, in the name of Her Majesty, all those whom it may concern, to allow the bearer to pass freely without let or hindrance, and to afford the bearer such assistance and protection as may be necessary. It's on the inside of our passport.
That's what I reminded him of as well. But that's the key thing. All this stuff is there for us to see. It's not difficult to get. It's all there, and they know it. That's the thing as well. And because I didn't have drugs on me, or I weren't doing anything bad, it's a COVID thing that's all bullshit that has no questions to. So that's why it's so nonsense. And also, they didn't know what to do once I was arrested. They've never had that experience before. So they're making up all this stuff in their head and trying to find out, shit, what do we do next? So it's all new to them too. So
I haven't had a look at the passenger locator form yet. What sort of questions does that ask you?
I rushed it. There was one where it said COVID, the package. That was the main one I remembered. It said, and I said exempt, and then it gives you, and again, this was the bullshit thing as well. It gives you all these list of reasons why you're exempt. You're like a sports person, or you're this and that. So if it was a pandemic, they shouldn't be. If there's a pandemic, the immigrations that are dealing with red zone people all day long should be in quarantine every fucking day. Like they're the most dangerous ones out of all of it. So I pressed business and investments, but I didn't have a letter or anything. But I'm just thinking, if I did have business investments, I'd just get an invitation letter from anyone that's got a business in the country.
Yeah. So and we'll get on to like sort of workarounds and advice for people in a sec. But yeah, I just want to make sure that I've covered. So when you were dealing with police and you were telling the police about the 1996 Police Criminal Act, and you was mentioning the 2015 Criminal Justice Act, was that being recorded when you was talking to them about that?
Yeah, I've got, so there's a second video on YouTube where I literally give you a whole step-by-step of all of it, what to look out, how they would react, and then you see the clips in between of it, and you can see they dismiss a lot of the stuff that I say. It's funny on the 3 questions bit. By the third one, they would just like take it as like, your name, they're writing it, now yours. And I knew that I was in control at that point.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, and were they trying to give you their number as opposed to getting their warrant?
Yes, so they go that and their surname they gave me.
They gave you surname, okay. And but before the guy arrested you for breaking the act or whatever, before he actually put you in cuffs, did he show you his warrant card?
He identified himself as well. So at that point, that's where. So my leverage is 14 years prison sentence against this guy. That would change anyone's life. I'd never go down that route, but that's what I can now go back with if ever they try coming for me.
Yeah, I wonder if there's. I don't know if you've done any research before or after where that's actually happened. Has there ever been a case where the police officer has been convicted for not showing his or breaking his oath and not showing his warrant card?
I can find out for you. I'm pretty sure it has. I'm pretty sure it has been. I've got since this has happened, I've been introduced to a number of really high experts in common law.
Yeah.
But what they said at the moment, there isn't like the main judge at the top that can actually put a lot of this process in place. However, there's a place down south in the UK. There's like 100 people now within the community. They've got their own courthouse now. So they're now serving people, knowing that the whole processes are in place, and then they're going to try to replicate this model across the whole land. And again, the people start taking back their country and live in the way that we want to.
Right. Yeah. No, it's fascinating stuff. So you got back home eventually, and you've had no interaction from the authorities since.
Nothing at all.
Brilliant, excellent. You got your passport, and then you're ready to travel again, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Okay, so let's move. We've got about 10 minutes left. Let's move on. And what would you do differently, and what advice would you give to people let's assume they are coming back from the red zone. I know the list has been reduced to about 7 countries now. Costa Rica is one of them, I believe. But yeah, it's been reduced to 7. But you know, they're making this up as they go along, and they're changing things as they go along. So it could well change. Yeah. So what would you do differently on coming back if you could go through it all again? And then what advice have you got to people who are actually going to give this a go?
Yeah, so I would say the first thing is do a bit of research on common law, just not just for this scenario, but just to know the backstory of it. We've actually done a presentation, 90 minutes on my YouTube, and it literally takes you through how it has all started and literally all the different legislations that they put in place, but also for people with tax, parking tickets, when you get pulled over by the police and they want to try to search you and stuff. Like, it teaches you a lot. There's a documentary called The Straw Man, which is 10 years old, still tells you everything you need to there. So I see that would be the first place to start, is do some research. Because what I've noticed is, since this happened, and in life in general, we just want the quick fix from the fitness industry. Someone just wants the magic pill or the quick program or the nutrition. They just want a diet that just works straight away. Like, that doesn't work in life. Like, you have to do the research yourself. I call myself a sharer. I get information, I share it, but it's your duty then to go and take that on, but you empower yourself from it. But a lot of people are like, I want the lawyer's number. The lawyer's not going to give you any extra information at all. It's you know your rights, you say them things, and that's all you need to say. The only things that I'd have done differently, I think I would have booked 2 different flights rather than just doing the same flight.
So, sorry, mate, can I ask a question about that though? If you'd have booked it to France, and then I guess a layover in France, and then how confident would you have been dealing with the French authorities? Have they treated you the same way as they treated you in the UK?
I still would have been confident. They can't stop me coming back from my own country. That would have been the thing that I'd have gone with the whole time. Again, anything with the COVID, I don't know how I'd have got the translation out, but I'd have still showed the FDA. I still would have got my phone out. But I'd have made sure that I booked the flight within the same day. No, like, I wouldn't have waited 24 hours or anything. I'd have tried to get it within a 3 or 4 hour window. That would have been my intention. What else would I have done differently? Now I know exactly what to say, because I was just going to say, are you acting under oath? I'd have just had them 3 things. Oh yeah, and the other thing, I would have reminded them straight away that if you arrest me, I'm going to charge you for every hour that I'm in the cell. I'd have said that. I didn't know that until the lady was on the phone to me in the police station, because I think they would think really twice about that after 14-year prison sentence, and you're going to get a massive fine coming your way as well. What else would I have done differently?
Would you, something I'm thinking about, I don't know whether you think this is a good idea, would you have had a folder with everything printed out?
I had a few, yeah, I would say that as well, just to make it look like you're doing. So these are my rights.
Yeah.
This is the FDA thing. The FDA one's quite a nice one to have, because no one can argue with it. Like, why do I need to go into the hotel? Because of COVID. How do you know COVID's right? Because the tests don't work. They're taking it down. The other advice I give, and this is the most important thing, ask one question and do not say anything after until they answered it. What law am I breaking? And don't say anything after that bit. If they say regulations, yeah, but what law is it? Just stay on that one question. Because what happens is, when we're arguing, you'll say something and they'll get the right answer to that, but they've just dismissed all these things. So mandatory vaccines at the moment, if your work's saying you have to do it, we'll say, well, can you show me one bit of science to say that I need this? And people are doing it now, and they come back and they'll say, well, the government are changing the laws on November 11th. No, they're not. That's a lie. The government can't change the laws. So you say, well, what law is that? Stay on that same question. And the email gets shorter and shorter, and they can't answer it. So you'll win. And that's, for me, that's how we push back, is get them, your boss on camera, on Zoom. Can you just show me one bit of evidence, please? Because you're enforcing this on me. I can show you plenty of reasons why not. They won't be able to answer it. And that's, so one question, hold the silence. And that's what I do in coaching. I ask one question, they come answer it. What's your opinion on that? Most people can't express their opinion, they're too scared.
Yeah. I like that one question, and stay with that one. Stay with that one question. I don't think I've got any more Uh, any more questions down there? Wait, how did you handle your own? Was you nervous throughout the whole thing, or was you calm?
Yeah,
Did
I
you?
thought I was really calm, but on the YouTube video you'll see the camera wasn't on there. The camera's under my paper and it keeps moving. So I was a bit more nervous than I thought.
Yeah.
But you'll hear my words are very clear. I wasn't stuttering. My thing was 24 hours in the cell. I'm looking forward to that. I was going to camp out in the cell for a night. That was literally my thing that I was working on. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, did you bite throughout, or did you stay calm throughout?
Only at the hotel where he shouted at me.
Mm.
Only at the hotel, because it was like, who the fuck? I wasn't expecting that anyway. But if you saw him anywhere else, you'd have laid him out. Like, he was a little dweeby guy, had no right to talk to anyone like that. And yeah, I got a bit triggered. But again, I'd done the hard work. There was no point ruining something then, and I'm not a fighter at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder. That's why I wonder. Like, call me skeptical, but I wonder if they called up ahead and said, "Come out and say that. See if you can get something that we can nick him for." Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. And again, that would have been all the hard work. But I say that I got a message. It's gone around the world. I got a message from Canada. Said, "You're a hero." We then did our own research. We looked at Canadian law, and she said we were at the border for 50 minutes. We got through, no tests, no papers, nothing, and we just got straight through. So it's working.
I wonder if you travel as a couple, or if you travel as a family, whether they will split you up and try and play you off against each other. I don't know if you've spoken to anybody who's travelled as a couple or as a family.
Well, the couple were in Canada. They were fine. The one concern is when people say they're kids, because with kids, when it comes back to common law, we don't actually own our kids, regardless of what you think or not. When you sign that birth certificate, your kid belongs to the state, and that's where social services is the only way that they exist. So they could call you a negligent parent and take the kids away from you. That potentially could happen, but I don't think it would.
Yeah. So that word parent, is it? What's you break that down, right? It means that you're just renting your own kid.
Yeah, you rent your kid.
Mate, this is fucked up.
It's mental when you break it down like that into the words. But again, I'm huge on words. Even just the way it affects our nervous system. We use negative or positive. Don't forget. Always remember. Don't give up. Keep going. Like, there's always a positive one. That's all I use.
Yeah. Well, my girlfriend has taught me about a little bit about all this stuff, and I've stopped saying good morning. I'm starting to say grand rising.
Grand rising, yeah. Well, bon dia, good day.
Yeah. I could barely speak this language. Learning it all again is gonna, yeah. Wow, this has been really, really cool. Right. So obviously loads of people are asking. There's going to be loads of people wanting to get in touch. What's your YouTube channel?
Harry Thomas UK. I'm banned for a week already on there. So
I'm surprised it's still up, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, all the videos are still there though. And also, guys, before messaging me, can you send me this? Can you send me on the captions? I've literally left the links on all of them, and I will get back to every single person. I'd say please go and do your research first of all on that. And I've left all the links, and I'll happily share more. But it's important that you go and do this yourself. And it's just interesting to learn about the legal system and the words, because, like, for example, when you get a paper and it's got your capitals on it and it says signature, print name, cross signature out, put autograph. Signature is your fake fictitious character. Autograph is the human being. Then you don't agree to it again.
Right. Wow. We've got a minute, 10 seconds left. Obviously, people have got your Instagram here. What's your Telegram?
I've got a group called Divine Truth 1111. I put loads of different stuff on there: positivity, conspiracy, truth. Like, it's a good community we got in there now.
I tell you what, mate. Send me all of your links in like one thing, and I'll put it on my stories, and then people can just grab it from the stories after this.
Amazing. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So, and last, sorry, one more question I asked. The lady that you had on the end of the phone, she was a common law expert. She wasn't a solicitor or anything like that?
No, I just said solicitor. I thought she was a solicitor or lawyer, but she was called a peace constable, and they just teach courses. The company is called Guardians 300, and they do courses for £20. Like, it's an investment that it will stay with you for the rest of your life. So they do it all over the country.
Wicked, mate. We got 10 seconds left. So, just thanks, brother. Thank you for coming on. And
thank you for having me, man.
Been super cool. So let's hope it posts. Cheers,
Awesome.
Harry. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.